Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel, friends and fellows and countrymen. It is good to have you back. It's been a little while. I haven't made a video in a bit because of a couple reasons. I hadn't really found my fun in this GHB yet. I was feeling a little down and on like the lists I was playing, on the armies I had, and having a little bit of trouble just kind of finding something that was sparking joy to play. So I was a little less motivated to make videos, and also just hadn't played that much in this GHB yet. And then the other reason is once I found a list that I was excited about, I needed to paint it all. I needed to paint like half of my list. It's a little background. I just went to Summer Slaughter, got back yesterday. This was a 36-person grand tournament hosted by Wicked Dicey, a great crew of guys who host good events like Everwinter and Ironweld, and then they have the Spring and Fall Retreat that I've talked about before on here, which takes place in the woods in Massachusetts. It's a nice, fun team tournament, which is awesome. So this is their first time running Summer Slaughter. This was previously run in Pennsylvania by some other group of folks. I have a bunch of friends who used to go, but I never got there, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think I ever went to the previous iteration of Summer Slaughter. So it kind of went away for a few years, and now it's back being run by Wicked Dicey. So I was excited to go and hang out with all my friends and play Warhammer, but I was just like, I really just have like no list that I'm excited about playing with any of my armies. I finally gave Cruel Boys a try in this GHB. I wasn't really feeling Stormcast with like the stuff that I own. I ran a bunch of like Annihilators and stuff in the last edition, which just doesn't feel good to run anymore. Slaves to Darkness, I was like a little bit just burnt out on, honestly. I'd played a ton of Slaves since like last winter. Kind of was done with them for a little bit. And then OBR, like I was having trouble finding an OBR list that I really liked. So 9 days ago, the Friday before the tournament, I'd seen, I think I watched an Honest Wargamer video, where he was going over the lists from like the GTs from the weekend before, and just, I don't even remember what the rest of the list was, but I saw an OBR list that had Usharan in it, and I had that in the back of my head of like, oh, maybe I should like go into the app and mess around with making lists and like see what you can put in a list with the Usharan Regiment of Renown. So Friday, a week before the event, I played, I messed around with some lists. I messed around with like Archon and Usharan and landed on something with like 2 Mortisans and Usharan's regiment. I'll show the list in a minute. But I played one game with it on TTS against my friend Roger, and it's the first time this edition that I think I've beaten his Iron Jaws, and had a ton of fun with it. And I was like, all right, this is bad because I don't own half these models, and a couple of the ones I do own are like on sprues or assembled and not painted. But I don't know. I kind of got excited by the challenge of like, I have a week, let's paint half an army. Maybe I've watched too many Squidmart videos that are like the 24-hour painting an army challenges. But Roger had all the stuff for the Usharan Regiment of Renown, and I had the couple OBR pieces that I didn't have painted but were assembled and I could paint. So the list I landed on is this list that I called Move Fast and Break Things. So it's an Ossifector with a unit of 4 Harbingers and a Mortek Crawler. And it is a Soul Reaper with 6 Immortus Guard. And then it's the Summer King's Entourage Regiment of Renown with Usharan, 10 Crypt Guard, and 3 more Big Knights. And I'll talk a little bit about how the list worked later, but in general, the regiments are kind of split into the little units that I kind of considered things that would work together. So you have the Ossifector, who's giving an extra Ren to the Harbingers, who bring a lot of killing power and a lot of speed to the table. with the 3d6 charge, and they can get the since you don't have Catacross in this list, the Harbingers over the Archai can kind of run out and do their thing, and they can still get the Relentless Discipline once per turn, even if they're not in the 12-inch bubble, which is important. And then the Ospector also buffs the Strike Last roll on the Crawler, which is nice. And then the Soul Reaper just makes this brick of Mortis Guard even more tanky in combat, because he's got the I think this is some blended soul thing here. Anyway, I just had like OBR lore like pop into my head. Anyway, the Soul Reaper has the -1 to wound aura in combat. It's 3 inches, so it's not big. And then with Diversionary Tactics, this came up huge multiple times in the tournament. This is the -2 to charge within 12 inches. So that's really nice, because like if 2 or 3 things are wanting to go into the brick of a Mortis Guard, probably, if 3 things are going in, even if they're all fairly close to you, even if they're 6 inches away, with -2, probably one or two of those might fail the charge, which is nice. So this is just a tanky brick. And then if things are going into you, you can also pop the anti-charge rend, which, even though the Soul Reaper is 3 attacks that are damage 2, that pops him to 3 rend, which is great, and the Mortis Guard to rend 2, which is also awesome. And then Ushuran brings a ton of good utility to the table. He's also fast. He's 10-inch move, so he doesn't fly, but he's 10-inch move. He can keep up with the Harbingers. The Morbeg Knights are super fast at 12 inches. Even the Crypt Guard are 6. And much like, you can put up the bubble for the OPR stuff of +2 move. Ushuran can give, with a spell, if that goes off, +2 move to the Crypt Guard if you want them to keep up. Or the Morbeg Knights, just to, make them 14-inch move, make them crazy fast. That spell also gives +1 to wound. And then he's a 2-cast, and since I took the Horrors of the Necropolis, which Ushuran can't cast, he was basically, he's just limited to that spell and then his War Scroll spell, which is pick a model, make it attack a unit next to it. It only really did anything once or twice, but it's hilarious when it does something cool. Yeah, and then Ushuran, as long as he's alive, can bring back one of these units at half strength after it dies. I assume I was at a moment of doubt where I'm like, does he have to be alive for that to go down? I'm pretty sure he does, but I'm gonna look at it real quick, because why not? It would be great to learn that I nerfed myself on accident. Yeah. So you do have to pick your Ushuran to bring them back. I'm not crazy. I put the Bone Type Nexus in the list, and then I forgot it, and it was in my closet all weekend, so whatever. I didn't miss it. It just takes up so much space in the deployment zone. I would almost love for OBR to just get a new piece of terrain when the book comes out that's smaller. That'd be wonderful. And then I did take the OG spell lore, not the Scourge of Gran one. The Drain Vitality is awesome. Crit 2 hits is great. I never cast the Horde Clearing spell, but I like those options more than the ones in the Scourge of Ground. So out of this list, I had not painted the Mortek Crawler, I hadn't painted the Soul Reaper, and I didn't have any of the Summer King's Entourage. Luckily, I drove from Baltimore to Silver Spring Saturday morning to pick up the Summer King's Entourage, and I spent much of Saturday and then Sunday morning assembling all of this, all of the Regiment of Renown. I got everything based and assembled and primed by like midday Sunday, and then I probably spent 11 or 12 hours between Sunday and Monday painting, and got I basically got in that time everything usable, and was like, all right, now I can relax. I can relax a little bit, and I can paint. I can bring things up to a slightly higher standard over the course of the week. I kind of needed to finish painting the bases and stuff, but after Monday, I was like, all right, I did it. This is usable. I can go to the tournament. So this is everything that I had to paint the week before, and I thought I did a decent little job. Oh, and I am not sharing my screen. Wow. I finally set this up to let me switch between scenes here like I know what I'm doing. And here I forgot to do it. So anyway, this was the list, just to see it on the screen. And yeah, this is everything I had to paint. The front is horribly out of focus. But I thought I did a decent job. The OBR stuff is mostly just bone, so that was just oil paints and speed paints and a little bit of brush work. And then, I dusted out the airbrush for some base coats, and then, I got everything done to a reasonable enough standard. I think Ushiran looks fine. The highlighting on the arm I liked. I got at least a couple parts of models where I was like, all right, I like what I did here. I like the stone on the crawler. The bats are a little out of focus, but I thought the bats came out nice. The ghouls are very out of focus, but they look fine in person. And yeah, so I got everything painted. That was the first adventure of this tournament. The last week I didn't have time to make a preview video for Summer Slaughter and go over all the lists like I would have liked to do, because I was painting. So that's one of my excuses for not having made a video. But now let's talk about the actual tournament. I'm gonna go grab my notes because I forgot to grab my notebook. So let's pause here for just a second. All right, and we're back. So just to talk about the overall results, as I said, it was 36 people. There was a very good spread of different factions. So I think in the top 10, there's only one duplicate faction, which is KO. So Dylan won. Not a shock. He won Ironweld. I think he went 4-1 at Tacoma, playing a cities list that might be a little busted, and obviously is also a fantastic player. And I just wanted to point out, even more impressive than just the fact that Dylan went 5-0 and won the tournament, had just like a crazy strength of schedule. So the last 3 games he played, let's see, I think he played, right, so he played Jacob round 5 with Skaven, who came in 4th. Round 4, he played Jeremy, who came in 3rd with KO. So he played, those 2 4-1s. And then round 3, he beat Jake DiBattista, who was 4-1 with Gloomspike Gits. So Dylan was the only loss of 3 of the, 5 4-0-1s or 4-1s, which is just wild. Like, that is crazy. So yeah, Dylan beat basically 3 of the 5 of the other top 6, which is great. And then also played, I think he beat Owen Jackson, who's also great. And then Sean, where is it? Sean Zlatev, who I didn't know, but was playing Skaven, and dropped after day 1, but was 2-1 day 1. And again, the only loss was Dylan. So just to look at Dylan's list real quick, I'm not going to go do the whole Honest Wargamer thing, but this is the same list he's been playing. Also, gotta say, I can hardly be mad that a native son of Maryland has been kicking butt with an army that contains John Brown, the Steam Tank Commander. You love to see it. So yeah, it's Master of the Paths, Wrathful Cycles, Steam Tank Commander, Pontifex Sinestra, Callus and Toll, Freegold Marshal on foot with the Relic Envoy, the Fusel Major, the guy who buffs shooting, 20 Fusiliers, 10 Cavaliers, a Battle Mage, and 3 Freegold Command Cores. So it can kind of do everything. It's got prayers, it's got casting, it's got shooting, it's got combat. I talked to Dylan just briefly about it, and I was like, why the Steam Tank Commander? This is kind of the weird thing compared to like other cities lists you'll see. And I didn't even think about this. He pointed out that it's a human, so it can be teleported back by Sinestra. So you can run the Steam Tank forward, you can shoot things, it gets some buffs in the list. and then just pull it right back. So this list is very ping-pongy. Like, you can go out and do things and they get pulled back to safety, and in the hands of a good player, that sounds just awful. So good job to Dylan, and congratulations. Very cool to see a Hedonites list in second. That was a I don't think I saw this on the board at any point. I somehow missed this. But it was kind of I'll just pull it up for a second. It was a very mixed Slaanesh list, which is cool. It was Glutos, Bliss Barbs, Slick Blades, 2 small units of Twin Souls, a Shard Speaker, 2 small units of Bliss Barb Seekers, very fast. All the mounted stuff is very fast. And then you have Painbringers. So kind of surprising. I haven't seen anything like this doing super well lately. So good job, Ian. And then I'll talk about... I played Jeremy, so I'll wait to talk about his list. But then, Jacob also went 4-1 with Vizek and a bunch of Clan Rats. And then the Screaming Bell, some Globadiers, and Night Runners. Very cool. Jake would be sad if I don't talk about his list. Jacob and Jake are both part of my group. Waluigi number 1. He's got a great army with a lot of like Mario themed conversions. So like some of the Squigs are Shy Guys and stuff like that. Some of the Gits have little mustaches and purple robes. But yeah, he had a Squig boss with Nash the Squig, 10 Bounders, 2 small Squig herds and 1 reinforced Squig herd, a Fungoid Shaman, a unit of Stabas, some Fanatics, Drugs, a Catapult, a Gobapalooza, and 6 Rock Guts. So again, I love that this GHB we're seeing so many mixed lists rather than things that like spam a couple of the same unit. 3 Command Corps notwithstanding. Obviously, there's a lot of Squigs in this list, but it's not like it's, I don't know, like the army I played, that was 2 reinforced units of Chosen, and there's 1,200 of your points. You're not seeing like, I feel like you're not really seeing big Death Stars like that. You're seeing a lot of variety, which is nice. And yeah, Nick G, also from my group, we were wondering how well like the 2 small Squig herds were gonna do, and Jake went 4-1. So the answer is obviously pretty well. So that is cool to see. Yeah. So I ended up coming in 9th. I went 3-2. You can see my last game was very close. I lost by 1, so I will get to talking about that in a moment. So let's go into the games. Round 1 was on Roots, Roiling Roots. I just wrote down Roots. Versus Matt Tempest, who also, I believe, went 3-2 in the end, and his Gits. So there were actually a good amount of Gits lists here. I didn't do a breakdown of like representation, but 3 Gits was near the top. There were also 3 or 4 Skaven. So he had the Squigalanch with Master of the Paths and Scouting Force. This had Scragrot, 2x6 Rock Guts, 2 units of Snarlpack Cavalry. That's the 3 size unit with like the 2 riders, the new things. A Loon Boss on Giant Cave Squig, and 2x10 Bounders, and a reinforced Squig herd. So a little less variety than Jake's list, but still, I think, pretty solid. I did want to mention, in terms of tactics, I think all of the top 3 or 4 lists all had Master the Paths, and the second tactic they took deferred. So Dylan had Master and Wrathful, so a little bit of a comeback mechanic and defense against the double. The Slaanesh player Ian had also Master the Paths and Wrathful cycles, so it seems like they might be onto something. Jeremy had Master the Paths and Restless Energy, and Jacob had Master the Paths, I think. Nope, he didn't. Okay, so he had Attune to Garan and Scouting Force. So the top 3, once we got out of the top 3, no more Master of the Paths. but that may tell you a little something. I don't know if I mentioned when I was talking about my list, I took Attune to Ground as well, and I took Restless Energy for my second. So similar to my thought that I could just shove the Immortus Guard and the Soul Reaper into the middle of the board turn one, especially if I took top of turn or was forced to take top of turn, and then I could just, right away get level 1 of Attune to Ground, step 1. Having 100 clan rats, that's also a very safe thing that you can shove into the middle of the board, so that makes a lot of sense. That's my list. Here we go. Right, so I just talked about that. So we were... Right, so he was 2 drops and gave me first turn, which, like I just said, I'm basically fine with. Essentially, I just shove the Immortus Guard and the Soul Reaper into the middle of the board. With the +2 to movement from the aura, basically you only need a run of 1 on any deployment, on any map, to get the Immortus Guard within 3. And then just, you can auto run 6. Command points are not super tight round 1. So you can auto run 6 the Soul Reaper just to make sure he also gets in there. Since I usually started, with him in the middle of the Immortus Guard. If you do only roll the 1 on the Immortus Guard, it gets a little tight within the 3 inches, so you kind of have to leave the Soul Reaper hanging out to the side of the unit, which is kind of fine. It didn't really become a problem at any point. If something goes in here, you're getting attacks on the Soul Reaper. If he's hanging off on the side, you're going to get more attacks into the Soul Reaper, but he's got a 4-up, 4-up. He's pretty survivable. So you can see here, turn 1, I just kind of moved up. The game plan here was very similar to a couple of the couple games that I'll talk about, which was essentially move into the center with the Immortus Guard, and then have my very fast and killy things deal with the opponent's fast, less killy, less tanky things, kind of on the flanks that are trying to run around and do things. And then once that goal has been accomplished, I can kind of converge on the slower, but harder to kill things in the middle. So you can see Matt, he's got 2 trolls kind of in the center, bounders, squigs, bounders, and then he had the snarl packs on the flanks. So in my head, I'm like, all right, like Morghast Archai, they can deal with 3 wolves who basically do nothing. They're not killy, and 10 bounders, as long as I stay a little bit cagey with them. Like, I don't want the bounders charging into the Morghasts, but being 10, but potentially 12-inch move, and having 3d6 charge, I'm like, I know I have the mobility advantage, and I can probably get into the bounders first, rather than them charging into me. Similarly over here, like the Morbegs are a little bit faster and fly compared to the Snarl Pack, so I'm like, I'm going to deploy, I'm going to move up turn 1 such that he can't really get into me. Like, he might have had, depending on the move roll, depending on other things, like he probably had a 10 or a 12-inch charge here, depending on if you rolled a 5 or 6. He had a very long charge to get in if he wanted to send them in right away, right? That probably doesn't clear that many Archai. And the other thought is I can always countershoot as well the catapult and make him strike last if he's coming in and alpha striking me like turn 1. So you can see here I took 2 points. I accomplished Attune to Gairan first step, so I took 12 points. And in his turn... Oh, the other thing I should note here. You may notice that there's not a reinforced squig herd here. There's not as many models as you might expect. The theme of this game is that the catapult kind of killed half of his army by itself. It was crazy. It just popped off all game. It probably did as much this game as it did the other 4 games combined. So turn 1, it hit 1 or 2 crits and killed like 17 squigs turn 1. which was obviously a fantastic way to start, because suddenly, this little block, if I eat 20 squigs and all the bounders, maybe I'm a little worried, but like, I'm definitely not worried about fighting 3 squigs and 10 bounders. The other thing with this setup, you can see I got the ward -1 to ward bubble up early to help deal with the trolls later, and I did know in my head if he really kind of full sent into the Immortus Guard, I could also potentially countercharge with Usharon and make things strike last. So there's really just a lot of like strike last insurance in this list, where like even if they go in on you, it's almost better for them to come into me, because then I can pop anti-charge rend, and then I can make things strike last and go before them anyway, and be more killy than if I had gone in. The other thing I'll note real quick is Matt's army. This isn't a good picture, but was very pretty. It was in the showcase, so there were 5 or 6 armies Saturday evening that were kind of in the showcase for player's choice. Or might have been lunch Sunday. Whatever, doesn't matter. This was in the player's choice showcase because it was beautiful. Well done, Matt. Good painting. So yeah, his turn 1. He ended up with 15 points turn 1 because he got Scouting Force. And you can see he took more objectives than I had, so he like maxed on primaries, whereas I had only gotten 12. I'd gotten 7 on primaries and a tactic. That was fine with me, because being the underdog is nice. I could control which pair of objectives were going to make things strike last, which could be even more strike last. And just the extra command point is super nice. I think going down just a little bit early is fantastic. So yeah, so you can see he moved his wolves up to take objectives. He was being smart and careful with the bounders just to make sure they couldn't be blown up by the catapult, or hopefully, safe from being charged from the Morghasts, just, spreading out and maybe not letting me get both, essentially, if I went that way. He did... So this picture is after combat, I believe. So this is... he had rallied... He got back like 5 or 6 squigs between there and 8, like returning mechanic, although he did kill like 2 of his handlers, and a rally. So he had gotten some squigs back, and he sent the squigs and the bounders in. You can see I summoned in his turn the ghost to block a little bit of frontage, maybe from the squigs, and just to have that out there for later. And you can see he went in, he did a grand total of, so he did 8 wounds to the Immortus Guard and 1 to the Soul Reaper, so he did not accomplish much. And in return, I wiped the squigs before they got to fight, because the bounders fought first, and killed like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know, whatever. I killed a couple bounders, I wiped the squigs, and then I was like, well, these are going to be dead next turn, because next turn, either I'm going to fight first, or Usharon's going to go in, or I'm going to catapult them, or what have you. Now let's see. Oh, I didn't want to do that. This is like a couple... Is this a couple turns later? This might be the next turn. This was the game that I was actually good about taking pictures. So I kept the turn order in the second turn. Basically, this was like... this was kind of the... Like the nail was being driven into the coffin at this point. This was a very good turn. The Morbegs on the right flank went and killed the Snarlpack cavalry and took that objective back. The catapult that turn shot and killed all 3 of the Snarlpack cavalry over there. And so the Morghasts were kind of in this area on the left. I just realized you can't, when I zoom in too much, you can't quite see the whole screen. So sorry about that. The Morghasts were here. I was thinking I would make the charge onto the Snarlpack cavalry. God, that word is hard to say. And maybe string out and get like 1 guy into combat with the bounders, just because I don't want them charging me. So even if I only kill a bounder or 2 with like 1 guy fighting into that side of the combat, I'll probably clear the Snarlpack, I was thinking. Instead, as I said, the catapult did 9 wounds and killed the Snarlpack exactly, I think. And then I rolled like a 16 on the charge on the Morghasts, so I just kind of got to get all of the Morghasts into the Bounders immediately. It looks like he did... So I think he did get to go with the Bounders before I fought and killed one. I don't know. Obviously, you can see there's 3 Morghasts there, so he killed one there, and then I did right. So I also got attuned to Gairan 2 this turn because I retreated the Soul Reaper and the Mortis Guard out of combat from the Bounders, and I charged in Usharan, who just wiped them out, and got the, you have to send one thing into the things that you retreated from for the tactic. So I got Restless 1 and Attuned 2 that turn, so I'm already got 3 tactics. I maxed... Did I max? No. All right, so yeah. I didn't max primaries. So I got 10 points of objectives, of tactics that turn, but I only got 5 on primaries because I did not end up taking the left red objective from him. That's the one the Snarl Pack had taken. I decided I could just take that back later and went after the Bounders just to kill them and get them into combat. So I didn't have a pair of objectives and I didn't have more, so that's why I only got 5. But that was fine. I was like rolling on my tactics. I had basically achieved my goal of killing all the fast stuff that's not trolls. So I'm feeling good about my plan at this point. In his turn, let's see, do I have... Right, so his turn, he retreated out with the Bounders. He moved this guy up here. He charged this unit of trolls into the Morbegs and brought back a unit of Bounders at half strength out of the shrine. Probably the biggest thing in this turn was that the trolls whiffed. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Oh my god, I keep doing that. The trolls whiffed very hard and only killed 1 Morbeg Knight, and not even any splash over damage. I don't think. I don't remember if I made a couple ward saves, but 6 trolls did 4 wounds to a 4-up save, 6-up ward unit of Morbeg Knights. So he took that point back, but now his trolls are stuck there. Morbegs can retreat without taking mortals and charge. They can retreat and charge. So I'm sweet. All right, I've got to keep having this unit of Morbeg Knights. I thought I was gonna have to, res them somewhere at some point, but not yet. Also in that turn, I think the catapult counter shot and did 4 or 5 wounds to the Squig hero. Whatever it was, there was 1 wound left on the Squig hero. This little mounted Squig guy. Scragrot had tried a couple times to do his damage spell to Usharan and kept failing, or I unbound it, so he hadn't hurt Usharan at this point either. So he got 10 points just from primaries. He did not accomplish any tactics. He never got Scouting Force going in this game, so he never got Scouting Force 1. This was a hard map for that because the territories just meet in the middle, so there's no neutral territory. So we did have to get things out. He had to get things over into my half of the board to get Scouting 1 even. And yeah, from there, right, so I didn't take, did I? Oh, I did, okay. Sorry, this was being played at the table next to me, and I got a picture of it. This ended up being my opponent next round. So I'll talk more about this army, but very cool Fire Slayers army. This was a Magmadroth conversion, very Chaos Dwarfy. Anyway, so back to my game. God, I keep doing that. I'm so sorry. Turn 3, he took a double. I don't recall everything that happened in this turn, but since I didn't get a chance to retreat the Morbeg Knights out, I know they got killed. I'm trying to remember. This picture might not actually be from that next turn. Yeah, anyway, so turn 3, he took the double. He got 10 again on primaries. Of course, no tactics because he doubled. My turn 3, I got Restless Energy 2 because I got the Morghasts over to... this must be my turn. Or this might be his... This picture is probably his 4, actually. So my turn, I'd gone into the Trolls here with the Immortus Guard and Usharon. Usharon just slaps, man. Like, he's so good. The spell, the -1 ward spell, it doesn't look like it in this picture, but I'm pretty sure it was just barely within range. There might have been trolls over here. I don't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure this was just barely in range at some point. But yeah, so the Immortus Guard and Usharon went in and killed most of this unit of trolls. You can see there's just one there. And the Morghasts rolled like another 16 to charge, I think, to get into Skragrott back here. So got into Skragrott. I decided to just kill Skragrott and target him with all of their attacks, I believe, and like toe that point. These Bounders weren't quite on the point, so I just got to take that back. So I owned, I think at that point, Restless 2 is own everything in your enemy territory. This was maybe... I'm trying to think of how I did that if those trolls are still there. We might have played... I'm like, did I play that wrong? Did we count a tactic that I didn't have yet? Anyway, at some point I got Restless 2. Right. Turn 4, neither of us scored any tactics. He got 5 on primaries. I ended up getting 10 just on primaries. And it was, from this point, it was basically cleanup. Like, I'm basically on top of the Loon Shrine, so bringing things back out of there isn't really going to help. They're just going to be there in the kill zone. Usharan brought back the dead unit of Morbeg Knights slightly off screen here to take this left objective that the Snarl Pack had gotten earlier, and I had left for later. So I did end up claiming that back with the resurrected unit. The catapult just like continued to brutalize things. I don't remember exactly. I think maybe the catapult killed the rest of the Bounders over on that side, and the Angry Ghost killed the little Squig hero. But yeah, from this point, it was pretty much just clean up and getting the last of the troll units. So I ended up tabling him, and so turn 5, he did still have 5 points on primaries, but I got 20 turn 5 for getting Attune 3 and Restless Energy 3. So I never took the double back. I didn't need to. I ended up winning 72 to 45. That was super cool. Like I said, very well painted army. Was a pleasure to play. So that was round 1. Round 2, I played the Fire Slayers list with all of the cool Magmadroth conversions. This was against Jeremy Williams. I really didn't know how this game was gonna go, but his list was very Magmadroth heavy. So it was Master of the Path and Wrathful Cycles, which seems to be a winning combination. 5 drops, so lots of drops, and he had the Rune Father, a Rune Son, a Rune Son, a Rune Son. So yeah, Father and 3 Rune Sons, the Scourge of Ground scroll, a Rune Master, a unit of reinforced Berserkers, and then the Skyport Profiteers Regiment of Renown. So that's a Code Right and 2 units of Thunders. And as I'll discuss more later, KO are disgusting. And part of the reason they're gross is because Thunders can turn off ward saves. So that was a nice little bit of tech in the Fire Slayers list to be ripping ward saves off things. Yeah, I didn't... Going in, I was like, well, Morghasts have +1 rend against monsters, so that's good. Yushiron's Strike Last ability, you have to roll higher than their control score. So I would be trying to roll 6s against the Droths, which is not great. But he can obviously still do work against like the Berserkers and things. Yeah, I was very interested. I know that, all of with the runes, they can be surprisingly killy or fast. I don't have much experience against Fire Slayers. So this was a very interesting game, and I definitely got a bit lucky to win this for sure. Like, I needed some things to go my way, and they did. So he took turn 1. So I deployed like this. Obviously, this was not here, the endless spell to start. Kind of just saying if he takes first, I'm kind of screening out the catapult and the Morghasts here, the things I want to keep alive. You can see I wasn't set up to just take the center right away with like the Immortus Guard. I kind of just wanted, since he outdropped me by so much, I kind of just wanted Ushiron and the Morghasts kind of centrally deployed so that they could react to how he deployed and be able to move out to the flanks if they needed to, or be in the center if they needed to. That was kind of the logic there. He did end up taking first turn. He was like hemming and hawing and very undecided about like whether to just take first turn and full send it and, get in here and kill my stuff before I even get to move out of my deployment zone. That is what he ended up doing, and it all went wrong for him. So he struck the Strike First rune turn 1. He took top of 1. Oh no, right, so I outdropped him. Sorry. I outdropped him, so I made him take 1. Sorry, I made him take first turn. He was not debating that. That was my debate, was whether to take first or second. I gave him first. I figured he's far enough away. It's just going to be a wasted turn where I'll play a little back. I'll play a little KG turn 1, perhaps, depending on what he does. And that's, one of his 5 turns is basically wasted not being in combat with me with the Magmadroths. I thought that was the way to go. So he got, let's see, turn 1 he got Wrathful Cycles 1 and got 11 points total. So 6 on primaries and Wrathful 1. The thing that went immediately wrong for him is, like I said, he popped the Always Strike First rune turn 1. So battle round 1, all his guys were going to be striking first. His plan was to use the prayer to give one of the Rune Sons a 10-inch move in the hero phase, move him up 10 inches so he goes 20, and just slam a Magmadroth into my stuff and start killing things, top of 1. In his hero phase, I did manage to countercast and summon this just to block up this space, in the hopes that even if he went in, he wouldn't, he couldn't quite have 3 inches into the catapult. So I was lucky a little bit to get that off. But the thing that happened was he rolled a 1 on his prayer. He had 2 prayers, I think. He banked points with the first one. So he just needed a 2-up for the movement prayer, and he rolled a 1. So he struck the Strike First rune and failed the 10-inch move. So immediately he was just not going to get anything into me in the top of 1. So instead what he did was he put basically all 4 Magmadroths into the center and was like, well, come at me, bro. Like, I'm Strike First, so if you want to fight all 4 Magmadroths at the same time, feel free. I think that was pretty smart, because, I didn't want to engage all of them at the same time. I thought that would probably go poorly. I had been wanting to play a little bit cagier than that. This is later. All right. So, yeah, like I said, he got 11. My turn, I played pretty cagey. I mean, I'm still in front of a bunch of Magmadroths, right? But I didn't go in. I didn't go in turn 1. I sent my Mortis Guard up to the left objective up here to just take that. So I at least have 1, 2. And I think that I know I shot the Thunders with the catapult, I believe. I think that Right, okay. What happened was the Morbegs went into the unit of 5 Thunderers because I wanted to clear them or at least tie them up because they were going to be annoying. So again, I was kind of playing the, like, can I clean up the little stuff on the flanks quickly kind of plan. And he made a 10-inch countercharge into the Morbeg Knights with the Rune Sun that was on the right there with all the rockets. Let me zoom in here, by the way. The demonic guy is the Rune Father, and then all of the elephants are the Rune Sons. So yeah, so he made a 10-inch countercharge into the Morbeg Knights, and I was like, well, crap. So much, that's kind of a bummer. But I believe, once again, the Morbegs actually survived that first round of combat. So, like, I kept being shocked that these, it's 12 wounds there on a 4-up, 6-up. People kept whiffing or something against them. So he took the next turn. I don't remember if that was me winning the roll-off and making him go, because I didn't think the double was going to help me. I think that's what happened. And it was kind of a risk. I think I was debating pretty strongly over what to do there. So I believe I won the roll-off and gave him the turn instead of taking the double. And we kind of... My memory is hazy on this. I think we talked about it a little bit as to, like, whether that was the right decision or not. I think he thought I should have taken the double, and I was, like, very undecided on it. But it ended up working out because... So he had one of the Rune Sons in combat over on the right with the Morbeg Knights, and he moves up the Rune Father and the other 2 Rune Sons to charge into me. He's like 4 or 5 inches away. Everything might have been 3 inches away. The one son was back a little bit, so, like, he might have been 5 inches away. But what ended up happening, unfortunately for him, was he was, everybody was in my -2 to charge bubble. His first, the first Rune Sun rolled, like, a 4 to charge and needed a 5 because he's 3 away and he's at -2. And he spent the command point to re-roll it, and he rolled, like, a 3. So the first Rune Sun didn't get in. The Rune Father charged and got into combat, if I'm remembering right. And then the other Rune Sun also failed the charge. Needed, like, again, like, I think he might have needed a 6 and, like, rolled a 5, or he might have even needed just a 5 and rolled, like, a 3 again. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling better than I thought I was going to in this turn. Like, only one Magmadroth got into combat. I can fight through that, and, like, in my turn, I can start dealing with the other Magmadroths. So I don't remember a super, super detailed breakdown of how it all went down. I do have this picture. This was... Oh, okay, so I have more pictures of this than I thought I did, I think. This was after the 10-inch countercharge into the Morbegs. He had also teleported the other unit of Thunders over here, I guess, at that point, which I kind of forgot. So the Morbegs kind of got in between them to tie them both up. He had countercharged over here. I think... Right, this was the end of my turn 1, the setup that I was talking about. So I towed this point. I had tried and succeeded to make this objective obscuring so that the ghouls couldn't be shot off with their breath weapons. I was very worried about the Magmadroths just, like, shooting off the ghouls, which were my screen, and getting into, like, the Morghasts. And I made I took the risk of... Oh, no, I didn't take the risk, because, this is probably... I don't remember this game as well as some of the others, for whatever reason. Anyway, this was obscuring, so I knew he couldn't shoot me off at this point when I stayed on. He very kindly reminded me, because I forgot, that it's not within an inch of the, mat for the control zone of the objective. It is wholly contesting the objective, so you have to be fully on the circle. I think I was sticking off a little bit and like thinking I had to be within 1 inch of the circle, and he was like, that's wrong, right? So thank you very much, Jeremy, for saving me from my own stupidity. I did not return the favor, sadly, in any way, because he kept having horrible luck. So whatever, karma's not real, as you can tell. Right, so that was after turn 1. Turn 2, like I said, he got the father in like to the front of this, but the other 2 things failed after they moved up. So I cleared the... Yeah, at whatever point this was, I had cleared out 2 of the Rune Suns, and this one was very damaged. Sorry, I'm just going through the pictures I have to refresh my memory of what happened. Right, so one of the Rune Suns had been very badly damaged. God, I'm trying to remember when this happened. One of the Rune Suns died because it had like 4 wounds left. He may have retreated it even, I don't remember. But it had like 4 wounds left, and I cast the Ushiran War Scroll spell to have the Rune Father attack the Rune Sun, and he killed the Rune Sun. And, that even had the chance where he could splash mortals back onto the Rune Father from the Rune Sun. I forgot to mention in the previous game, a funny thing that had happened was I had a troll attack the squigs and killed like 2 or 3 squigs, which meant he had to roll to see if the squigs hurt the troll back. So this was just the second game in a row where I had a model kill one of his own models that like had splashback things. Yeah, you can see he did end up clearing the Morbeg Knights there. I think he had gotten into the Morghast with the other Rune Sun and killed 2 like as I was killing the Rune Sun. And then some combination of like Ushiran and the Immortus Guard probably killed the other Rune Sun. So at this point I was like holding that. And having gotten through 2 and 1 was injured, I was like, I had enough of my stuff alive and had cleared 2 of the Magmadroths that I was like, all right, this is feeling okay. So yeah, at this point, after turn 2, we were tied. So he had done Wrathful 1 for 11 points turn 1. I'd gotten 6 from primaries. Turn 2, he didn't get a tactic, but got 6 on primaries, whereas I got Restless Energy 1. And so I got 11. So we're tied going into turn 3. We kept the turn order the whole game. So turn 3, he got Master the Paths 1. So he must have gotten one of my heroes. It may have been the Soul Reaper. I don't see the Soul Reaper. Actually, yeah, Soul Reaper is still there this turn. So I'm not sure which hero he got. I'm just guessing it was the Soul Reaper with like the Rune Father or something. So he got 15 because I believe he took the center point back. Or maybe this point with the Code Right like ran over here. So he took 15. I only got 6 from primaries turn 3. So I was down at that point, and it was getting very cagey. So he ran over to take this. This Rune Sun must have cleared the Morghasts, but was very hurt in the process. You can see the Rune Father had gone into the Immortus Guard, and yes, he must have cleared the Soul Reaper with that. I think he may have also just shot off the Morghasts with the breath weapon, or maybe that's why there were only 2 left at that point. But yeah, from this point, I just managed to fight my way out, basically. So Ushiran went in to the right, and between him and probably the Catapult picked up that Magmadroth. The Immortus Guard managed to kill the Runefather, I believe, over there. The catapult helped with one of them. I don't remember which it was. So then at that point, both of us are pretty short on models, but I was able to, I could bring back the Morbeg. Sorry, not Morghast. I have both. Bring back the Morbegs over on that flank. Usharan cleaned everything up on that flank. So at this point, I'm like, all right, I can go retake the left objective with the Morbegs, kill the Code Right, and I'm just worrying about the Berserkers, like coming in and clearing out my Immortus Guard, and like maybe being strong enough to take out Usharan at that point. But by the time he got in, so he went in turn 4, I think, with the Hearthkin Berserkers. I don't know if it was turn 4 or 5. Anyway, turn 4 he got 6 on primaries. I got 20 because I got attuned 1 finally, and that must have been turn 4. Yeah, all right. So turn 4, I think he went in with the Berserkers. I had cleared the rest of the Thunders at that point with Usharan, and so it was my turn to make a 10-inch countercharge. So he had gone in with the Berserkers. He probably would have cleared the Immortus Guard, but I got the 10-inch countercharge with Usharan. I hit the strike last. So in his turn when he went in, I basically ate most of the unit of the Berserkers with Usharan, the Immortus Guard, with, extra strike or anti-charge rend, blah, blah, blah. I may have even countershot the catapult. But I kept the middle point, I believe, and, in my turn 4, I finished wiping them. So I got attuned at that point because Usharan and the Immortus Guard were like sitting in the middle. So at that point, he was pretty much tabled, I believe. So he got 0 turn 5, and I got my 15 for one of the other tactics and 10 on primaries. So that was game 2. Like I said, it was like I got a little bit lucky to win that game. Like the turn 1, he failed the prayer. He rolled the 1 to fail the prayer. So didn't get into me like he planned. So very much wasted his auto strike first rune, which is like the biggest thing I have to worry about, because he didn't manage to get in turn 1, and then my turn, I was just like, I'm just not going to engage. I'm just going to stay away until that is up. There's other runes that are good, but that is the one that's gonna kill me. So I was just able to not be in combat with any of his army on his strike first turn. So yeah, rolling that 1 changed things a lot, and then the 2 out of 3 failed charges from the Magmadroths in turn 2 was just like brutal, because he was maybe he was gonna kill a good chunk of my army, and instead like I got to fight the one that went in and kill it, and then like deal with the other ones a little more piecemeal. So yeah, this was the board at the end of the game. Basically, it was just basically this stuff left in the middle of the board. We had already cleaned up at that point. This is just not somebody I fought, but Anthony Trentinelli's Skaven Skyer army was beautiful and won Best Painted, as it should have. So I just got a picture of that. This is a bell, and then the other tanks with legs are Hell Pit Abominations, and then it's some Storm Vermin and whatever, some other things. So yeah, very cool army. Game 3. Oh boy, game 3. Game 3 was against Jeremy Vessier. He does get credit for having the song from Team America as his army name. I hope Best Coast Pairings never changes the fact, or not Best Coast Pairings, the Sigma rep. I hope there's never a character limit on the names, because this is fun. It's silly, but it's fun. So yeah, as already discussed, Jeremy took best overall, I think, since Dylan took best general. Jeremy was in second, and his army was painted, so basically took best overall. Guys, KO, it's it was so nice to not have to worry about KO for a while, and now it's acceptable again to hate KO, I think. and to morally judge KO players, because they seem a little dumb right now. For as much as I was talking about, cities might be a little busted right now, apparently, KO feels just miserable to play once again. Do I even have pictures of this game? All right, I have one picture of this game because it's all it deserves and it's all it needs. This was on the two objective map. I forget what it's called, with the like big chunky offset deployment zones that meet in the middle. So he outdropped me, or we were tied. Whatever way it was. Sorry, I should go for the list. He outdropped me. So he was going to have the choice to take first or second. So he had Brock, a frigate, a reinforced Endrin riggers, a reinforced salvagers, an Endrin master, an ironclad, thunders reinforced, and a harpoon crew reinforced. And I was talking with my group and stuff, and we were kind of like, this doesn't even seem like it's not, clearly it's not a bad list, right? But it doesn't even seem like the maximally filthy KO list. I could be wrong. Maybe it is. Jeremy's very good at this game and knows a lot about the game. I'm under the impression he was a little constrained on what he had painted. But yeah, we were like, this isn't even probably the maximum gross KO list. And it's a very short story of this game because we deployed like this. I was very unsure as to how far back to deploy. And I think in retrospect, I should have deployed Ushiran and the Morghasts probably a little further back in the hopes of not getting shot to death turn one, and just, put the ghouls as far forward as I can, keep the important things back a little further. You can see I put the Immortus Guard and the Soul Reaper on this objective, planning to hopefully make it obscuring. I did fail to make it obscuring turn one. So the story of the game was he took turn one. He picked up one half of his army with one boat and stuck it in front of my army. He picked up the other half of his army with his other boat and stuck it in front of my army. And then he shot 1,200 points of my army off the board turn one. And I was like, all right, cool. It wasn't quite 1,200. It was like, I think he killed 1,150 points estimate of my army turn one. So I was kind of like, all right. I didn't think he was just going to full set it like that. But he was like, all right, I'm going to do it. This is a test. He did it. And I was like, all right, he'll probably pick up Ushiran or the Morghasts. Might damage the other one, but surely he's not going to kill both. Instead, it just trivially picked up Ushiran and the Morghasts, which is 1,050, 1,100 points of my army. The Morghasts are 560. Ushiran's probably 450 with, counting discounted a little bit from being in the Regiment of Renown. So the Thunders shot Ushiran first. I knew from the previous game, and plus Jeremy told me, the Thunderers can strip off ward saves if they do enough damage to something and roll their die and whatever, however that works. So I all out defense to the Thunderers. I was like, I might as well all out defense right away, the first thing that can mess up my ward save for later. He still did 5 wounds or something to Ushiran, took the ward off. The Ironclad shot Ushiran and killed him, I think. I think it was just the Thunderers and the Ironclad picked up Ushiran. I was like, okay, cool. And then between the frigate and the Endrin dudes and Brock and everything else, he picked up 3 of the Morghasts, I think. 2 or 3 of the Morghasts. And then he charged in with the frigate. And guess what? That gives everything strike first. So he picked up the Morghasts and some of the ghouls and had the catapult in combat at the end of turn one. So at the end of top of turn one, I had a catapult that was in combat, 5 ghouls left alive that were in combat, and then some more big knights and a Mortis Guard. So I effectively had probably 800 points of my army after top of 1. And was just like, cool, all right. I get to go have a beer in like 10 more minutes because this game is over. So my turn 1, I was like, I wonder how many dwarves I can kill with these Immortus Guard. So I charged into the Harpoon or Salvagers, whatever these are. Jeremy had told me, but I didn't fully understand what they do. I think I thought it was only a d6 that they could move in combat, but it turns out it's actually 2d6. So I charge them, and he rolls like an 8 or 9. So they just hop over and take my objective behind me. So I got 0 points turn 1, and didn't have an army left. And we shook, because he won the roll-off for turn 2, I think. And I was just like, I'm not going to have an army when your turn is done. Why do we bother rolling the dice to make that happen? So that was miserable and awful, and KO players should all hate themselves, and GW should nerf it into the ground, because it was miserable. And that's all I have to say about that. So we're back! We're back, baby! We're back to hating KO times. How we missed it. How we missed it. Obviously it didn't go 5-0, right? Dylan beat this list. There are things that can beat it. I think Jacob has played this, like the Skaven and KO matchup, like 3 times now, and I think has adjusted to beating it. So to be clear, it probably doesn't need to get nerfed into the ground. It probably needs a few points hikes, so you can maybe take 1 or 2 less toys and a little bit less bodies or something. I don't know. It's probably walking a thin line of like, if the list goes up 150 points, suddenly it doesn't work at all anymore. I don't know. Feels like there's room where it needs to get nerfed, and it'll still be annoying and okay. So yeah, that was pretty miserable. I would need to play that, like, I would probably need to play it 2 or 3 more times to really figure out what to do against it. A lot of it was just, I hadn't played New KO yet, right? Like, this is a learning experience. I had no idea how much damage the big boats would do with their shooting, which turned out to be approximately infinity. So yeah, that was a big old L. So I was, oh my god, these numbers are so high it's hard to count. I was 2-1 going into day 2. So day 2, I played Raymond Squires with slaves. Looking at this list, I wasn't very scared of anything in it because it doesn't have a whole lot that's like super high damage against me. So we had a Sorcerer Lord, 2x20 warriors, one with the Dread Banner, a Gaunt Summoner on Disc of Tzeentch, Furies, Legionnaires, Lord on Demonic Mount, and 2 units of Chaos Knights. So being a Slaves player, I was like, all right, this, there's no block of Chosen, there's no Varangard to really be like a hard hammer. The Knights can hit pretty hard, but they're split into 2x5, so like it's not like it's a big brick of 10 that's going in with the Lord and like deleting something. It's more little units that like, can fight well on the flanks. He had Scouting Force, God, I'm having a hard time talking today. Scouting Force and Wrathful Cycles. Scouting Force in general felt not super strong this tournament. Just the couple people I know who had it and had a little bit of trouble completing it. I think, did Jacob have Scouting Force? Did we say that? Yeah, so like, I don't know, I guess it worked out all right for Jacob. But anyway, this was the second game where my opponent had Scouting Force and never completed the first tier of it, which obviously locks you out of anything else too. So yeah, this battle... Oh, another brief painting interlude. My friend Nick Jackson is a great painter and had this lovely propaganda, freehand text on the back of his dragon, which is supposed to be Karzai in his Stormcast list. And I just had to get a pic because this is fantastic. I love this little scene happening behind the dragon. And I'm just intimidated by the idea of trying to do text this well. Like, this is gorgeous. Good job, Nick. Wow. And I totally... Day 2, I was much worse about getting pictures, obviously, because I think I have like one picture of Game 5 and none of Game 4. So I will just talk about this game. Oh, by the way, the score the score from game 3 against Jeremy was 77-0. So he missed 3 points in primary turn 1 just because I had the one objective. And other than that, I got 0 points and he maxed out. It's horribly embarrassing. Horribly embarrassing. So against Raymond, I took turn 1. I did the standard. Well, it wasn't that standard because I didn't do it every game, but I moved up into the center with the Immortus Guard and the Soul Reaper and got attuned number 1, step 1. I got 15 points. This was on... Oh my god, sorry. I should have already had up what the objective was. Oh, and it was in an email. So hold on. Let me pull up what the battle plan was. Right. I should have mentioned it was Roiling Roots. Round 2 was Linked Ley Lines. 3 was Life Roots. That's the one with 2. This was on round 4 was Bountiful Equinox, and round 5 was on Life Cycle. So Bountiful Equinox is I think that's an X of objectives. Yeah, basically once again I was like, all right, there's 2 bricks of warriors that are going to take a while to chew through. All right, so what happened in this game versus Raymond? Turn 1, I moved up. I was being cagey with the Morghasts and Usharon and keeping them... Sorry. Let me... We're drawing pictures. We're going back to pictures. Oh, that's what happens. Oh, even when I type. All right, I need better hotkeys. That's the issue. So even when I type, that can switch the view here. All right, so here's a board. Basically, all right, green is going to be terrain. Let me draw with a big brush. How does this look? Fine. There was like some terrain in the middle. This is kind of the terrain that mattered. Red will be him. Black will be me. So turn 1, like I said, I kind of move over to the center. I had like Usharon, the Immortus Guard, the Soul Reaper was kind of chilling. It's something like that. And like his knights were 2x5 kind of in a line there. He had a big blob of warriors, a big blob of warriors. This is gorgeous. It's so good. The Furies were like chilling in here somewhere. He had like the Gaunt Summoner, the Demonic Mount Lord somewhere in there too. The little guy, the Sorcerer Lord was behind it. Whatever. That's the basic gist. So the moral of the story was I didn't want the Morghast like getting charged by the knights. I was like, I can just hang back with the Morghast for now and chill out. So I was, up in the middle. The number one mistake that he made was, so he gave the non-Dreadbanner unit of warriors 3d6 charge, and he was just gonna go into the middle and shove with the warriors and try and kill me. So he marked this unit Khorne and gave them 3d6 charge. So they went in. His turn 1. He throws them forward, and the mistake was, he could have put them in just touching the... He could have gone into the Immortus Guard and kind of left Usharon out of 3 inches to start, but instead he just kind of glommed forward in a straight line blob, and so Usharon was in combat to start the combat and was able to make these poor Khorne warriors strike last. And then the Dreadbanner unit needed... I may have redeployed like backwards slightly with the Immortus Guard to make it a little harder. But I think he got like 8 away, and so he needed a 10-inch charge because he was in the Soul Reaper -2 to charge bubble. So the second unit with the Dreadbanner failed to make it in. So at that point, he's gone in, he got strike lasted, I went anti-charge +1 rend, and between Usharon and the Immortus Guard and the Soul Reapers, I killed like 17 of the 20 Chaos Warriors turn 1. for a net of accomplishing nothing for him, right? So at this point, I'm like, okay. It's turn 1. I already got to chew through a bunch of warriors. This is going great. He got 8 points in his turn just on primaries from having 1-2, I think. Not the middle one. So he took the double and basically went in with the other warrior unit. I forget what happened with the knight. Oh, I remember. No, I remember. I'm really not using all of this space I have here. He had also cast the Prismatic Palisades, like here. It's kind of a long line. And I had like my catapult here and my little Osvector here. This is Morghast's catapults. Ushagan. So he moved his knights up to the edge of the palisade. So basically, like, in the double turn, his knights were, like, here turn 1. And because of the palisades, he did the, like, classic thing I do, which is get out a endless spell that doesn't actually do much for you, and it ends up blocking your movement up and just making your life hard and ruining everything. So he basically didn't have enough movement to like clear the palisades and be coherent in any manner. So the knights had to just like stop behind the palisades, and then it was going to be like a long like 10-inch charge to get over to like the Osvector. And he just didn't roll it, right? Like he rolled like a 5 and he's at minus whatever. He might have rolled a 7, but he's at -2. So he ended up just having to send the knights like into this big mess with the warriors. And they like everything kind of bounced, like just nothing in his army did that much damage. Again, because of the palisades that were there, he only got... Oh, no, that's what happened. Yeah, he did roll a 5. -2 was 3. He was like 4 or 5 inches away from even the Mortis Guard. So he failed the charge with the knights. And then the Demon Mount Lord went in. So he was still able to double fight the knights and get a pile in, but that meant he didn't have any charge bonuses. So he's down a rend and a damage on the knight attacks, and he only got even 2 into combat with the Immortus Guard. So the story from there was basically like the Furies had gone over here, and the catapult eventually, I think it took 2 or 3 times shooting them to kill him, because the catapult was just kind of failing day 2 a little bit. But he was just unable to kill me. The Morghasts went in and like helped clear everything. I eventually outfought he marked the East Corn too, but I was able to, Strike Last is so good against Control 1 infantry from Usharan, like between catapult shooting into them, and I was just able to grind down all the warriors, and ended up, I think, tabling him. So the way the score broke down, in the double he did get 10, because he, I think with the Furies, flew over and took my point. My turn, I got Attuned step 2. I got Restless step 1 because I took something back. And I got 20 points. Turn 3, he got Wrathful Cycles 2, I wrote down. When did he get Wrathful 1? He must have gotten Wrathful 1. Maybe turn... I don't know. Anyway, he got something Wrathful. He got 13 points turn 3. I got Attuned step 3. For 15 points, and then he was pretty much tabled after turn 3, but had 1 or 2 things left on the board, like maybe the Sorcerer Lord or like a couple knights or something. So he got 8 points. He may have also just still had objectives from before. So my turn 4, basically I cleaned everything else up, got Restless Energy 2 for 15 points. Turn 5, got Restless Energy 3 for 15 points. So I ended up maxing for 80 to his 39. So yeah, that was... He said a little bit of stuff about like bad luck, but I think it was just like a bad list pairing for him, largely. There's just nothing there that's really going to chew through like a Mortis Guard or Usharan or even the Morghasts before they get killed back. I may have even got like a Drain Vitality off at some point. So to wrap this up, game 5, I played just the most absurdly close game against Scott and his Nurgle. So this was New Rotigus, 10 Blight Kings, 2x5 Blight Kings, Bloab, Harbinger of Decay, and Sloppity, and then the Demon Prince Regiment of Renown, who can take like the heroic traits and artifacts. So he had the Rust Fang to give something -1 save for the rest of the game. He had the Avalanche to do a bunch of mortals on the charge. Man, I was not sure how to play this game. I have a picture of this was the state at the end of like turn 4 or something. So you can see there was like 4 models left on the board at that point. Not 4. He had like 5 Blight Kings left, but Rotigus, I had like 2 things left. So it was a very bloody game. Essentially, he had turn 1. We were tied and I won the roll-off, and I gave him turn 1. Just thinking Nurgle's slow, and he's like not going to accomplish much turn 1. I still don't know if... I have no idea if any of my plays this game were the right plays. But I gave him 1. He like moved up towards the center. I guess I could draw again on this one, just to illustrate what I mean. Let's just move that all off. So you can see again, there's these 2 terrain pieces in the center that are kind of close to each other and annoyingly large. So let's just call that center terrain, because that's really the terrain that mattered. So he kind of moved up his 10 Blight. Oh man, that's tiny. Give me the big one. He kind of moved up the 10 Blight Kings there. Bloab, Rotigus, 5 Blight Kings, and then he started 5 Blight Kings and Sloppity over here. So I started Ushuron, the Morbegs, and the Crypt Ghouls over here. I had the Mortis Guard and the Soul Reaper and the Catapult like in the middle. And then I had the Morghasts over here. So his turn 1, he actually had his turn 1 he had moved up the 1 small Blight King units here. From there, cancel. I don't want to save you. I just want to get rid of this. So essentially, I had a very hard time deciding. Whoa, interesting. I don't know. Oh, that's just that. I had a very hard time deciding whether I wanted to send the Morghasts into Rotigus, turn 1, and just try and blow him up. I could have gotten there. You know, I had 12-inch move, 3d6 charge. Probably could have gotten there. I failed both the extra rend roll from the Ausfector, and I failed the crits on 5s spell. I think if I had gotten both of those off, I think I definitely would have just gone into Rotigus turn 1. If I gotten 1 off, I may have still gone into him turn 1. I haven't done the math, but like they don't kill him. I think they get close but don't kill him on average without the buffs. With the buffs, they might on average kill him, which would obviously be super worth it turn 1. That's like the linchpin of his army. I can grind down Blight Kings eventually. Rotigus just does a ton of damage, and he's a wizard to cast. Like, he was the problem. The other problem was he got off the cogs turn 1, so he was going to be -1 to hit Rotigus because he's a wizard, and I forgot to unbind that, or I forgot to banish it. So there was enough stuff that went wrong that I was like, I can't just throw the Morghast into Rotigus. So what I ended up doing, which I still don't know if it was horribly stupid, it probably was, I moved up the Immortus Guard. I got cute. I moved up the Immortus Guard and the Soul Reapers to get attuned to Gyran. He had 2 commands left. command points left. So like clearly he could countercharge and stop attuned. And like it was kind of like the debate here was, do I do that, have him spend his 2 command points? He doesn't have any commands for like all out attack, all out defense. I still have a couple commands. Like I get to do my +1 anti-charge rend. It's probably actually a decent fight for me. One of the other issues was like the catapult just did fucking nothing this game. Like I think I failed all my rolls to make things strike last on a 3-up this game. So like I would have been very comfortable with that. Well, actually, that didn't matter this turn. Sorry, that didn't matter this turn because even if he charges me, right, I still go first. So the debate was like, do I let him just go into the Immortus Guard in my turn, and then in his turn, he's, assuming he gets the turn and I don't get the double, he gets to go in with like Bloab or Radagast and like really, really probably beat up those Immortus Guard and Soul Reaper and maybe even clear them. What I ended up doing was I kind of saw, oh, actually, you know what? There's space between them for the Morghasts to charge the 10 Blight Kings and block them up so that they can't get within 3. So I can get attuned 1. So I ended up doing that, which was probably really dumb. I still am not sure. I still don't know. Like, the way this game turned out, it was so close. I think it was the wrong choice. I think in general, I should have just played much cagier first turn and let him kind of spread out on the map a little bit and clear the stuff on the flanks and then have time for things to come in later. Because I did end up sending Usharon, the Morbeg Knights, and like the Crypt Guard over here to clear the small unit of Blight Kings and Sloppity. And it did take longer than I hoped it would to clear those like 5 Blight Kings. And he ended up sending, so he had that Demon Prince that flies and is fast and does all the mortals on the charge. He ended up sending that over to try and kill Usharon, which was a huge problem because he almost did it. I'm getting a little out of order here, but I'm running out of steam. So I'm just going to give the quick summary here. Basically, on that flank, the Demon Prince failed to kill Usharon by 1 wound. Usharon lived with 1 wound on him, but was diseased. So he had to fail the disease roll. So he did roll a 1 or a 2 on the disease roll, and Usharon survived. I had charged in the Crypt Guard into the Demon Prince in my turn, thinking I could catapult him, make him strike last, and if he doesn't roll a 4-up in combat to make himself strike first to cancel that, then like I don't need to worry about that side of combats until after other stuff was done. Because at this point, my Morghasts in the middle were in combat with those Blight Kings. I was so sad. The Morghasts killed like 2 Blight Kings turn 1 when I went in. I was like, that's miserable. But at that point, right, so at that point, like, they were still locked in with the Blight Kings. Bloab had gone in as well. And I was like, if I get to fight with my... Oh, and like the Blight Kings killed like 2 Morghasts back turn 1 too. But I was like, if I get to fight... If the Demon Prince is on strike last, and I fight with the Morghasts before he gets to go in the next turn, in my turn, like, there's a chance the Morghasts can just kill Bloab, which would be a big thing for me, because he's got that combat debuff that's annoying, and also at that point, like, I could get in with Immortus Guard and start grinding and stuff, and it would, things would be a little better in my turn too. So unfortunately, this was another swingy thing. I did get the strike last off on the Demon Prince, but he rolled the 4-up for strike first to cancel it. So I couldn't just go first with the Morghasts and then have the Demon Prince kill my Usharon that has 1 wound left, right? The Blight Kings are dead at this point. I'd cleared them the last turn, thinking... So basically, turn 1 after the Demon Prince went, I was like, they're still Blight Kings. They're totally going to do the last wound onto Usharon if I don't kill him. So I put all of Usharon's stuff into the Blight Kings to kill them turn 1, thinking in my turn I'll be able to strike before the Demon Prince and I can clear him before he kills Usharon. And then I can rally and get the disease off, and I'll have an Usharon who I can rally back up and do things later. Probably what was absolutely a game losing moment was after this combat happened with like the Morghasts over here. Since I had to go first, he got to kill one of the 2 Morghasts before they struck. I was pretty lucky. Like, it was pretty lucky for me that he didn't just kill both Morghasts with the Blight Kings. Like, the rolls went okay, such that I had like 3 wounds left on 1 Morghast. That Morghast then did like 11 wounds to Bloab, so it almost killed him by itself. Like, if I had had both with the buffs I had managed to get on them that turn, I'd gotten the crit double hits, I had gotten the 5-up crits, I had gotten the extra rend. If both Morghasts had gotten to go, I probably would have just straight up lifted Bloab. But anyway, so he, and then he ended up killing the last Morghast with Bloab. I did end up getting Bloab with either like the Catapult or the Immortus Guard that were in combat. I ended up grinding through those Blight Kings, but like kind of not fast enough. So I did end up killing the Demon Prince. The game losing thing that I did was that turn 2 when I killed the Demon Prince. I charged the Crypt Guard in because they had failed the first turn to get in. I charged the Crypt Guard in thinking if he was strike last, I can go first with the Crypt Guard, turn off commands, and make sure he can't like all-out defense against Usharon and like maybe live with a wound or 2, depending on how the dice went. So I charged in with the Crypt Guard. I killed the Demon Prince with Usharon. So the Crypt Guard, since they charged, could still make a pile in. So I piled the Crypt Guard like a little bit north towards this back objective. So this was a 4-objective map. This is getting very crowded. Whatever. This was a 4-objective map. Nothing in the middle. So I just not having played Nurgle really at all recently, like in the past year. I don't know if I've played new GHB, like new Index Nurgle. I must have played the way disease spreads once. But not thinking about it, I piled the Crypt Guard in that way. In my head, I'm like, next turn I'll rally Usharon. He's got nothing now past basically the center line of the board to my left. So like Usharon is safe. Radagus's aura is not that big yet. Like there's nothing to pop an extra wound onto Usharon. Except, so he went in turn 3. He got the turn. I rallied Usharon to clear disease. So he's got 1 wound left. And then at the end of the turn, fuck my life, he was like, well, disease spreads from the Crypt Guard onto Usharon because they're within 3 inches, and that this time he did not fail the 3-up and killed Usharon. I didn't make my ward saves. I failed. He died. So when I had the free pile in from having charged with the Crypt Guard, I could have just piled 3 away from Usharon and been safe from the disease, and I just 100% didn't see it. I even in his turn probably could have redeployed the Crypt Guard away from Usharon and still saved him, but I just wasn't thinking about the fact that disease was going to spread from the Crypt Guard to Usharon. So that was a game killer there. Like that lost me the game. That was one of the things that lost me the game. Again, it was such a close game that there were multiple things, if they had gone one way or the other, would have been either a bigger win for him or flipped it to be a win for me. And that was like one of the major ones, because Radagus was chilling here. He had, I don't know how Radagus maybe had gone into the combat and taken some wounds. I got at some point Radagus was down to like 11 wounds. And that was the end of my turn 2, I think. Radagus was pretty hurt. So maybe the catapult had done some to him. He had gone into the combat and maybe taken some. So yeah, if Rodicus is there on 11 wounds and Ushiran is alive to go in, like Ushiran just moves 10 around the corner, he charges, and probably splatters Rodicus. And again, that's his big piece is gone. One of my big pieces is left alive. At that point, he has 5 Blight Kings left, right? Like, the game is mine. And the Herald, I guess. So instead, Ushiran was dead. He managed to clear all my stuff in the middle. At that point, I'm like... So this is turn 3. Turn 1 was 10, him, 14 for me. Turn 2, we both got 9, no tactics. His turn 3, he got intercept 1, because Ushiran was an intercept target. So he got 10. Only 5 on primaries, but he got intercept 1. I got attuned 2, because I did get the Morbegs over to take... I think I had 1 Morbeg left. 1 or 2. Anyway, I had 2 Morbegs left at that point, let's say. Got them over to take his back point, so I got attuned 2 and got 14 points. So at that point, I was up 8, but I'm like, my army's almost gone, and like, we gotta play KG from now. So I took the double, because I was like, there is a chance that like I can shoot Rodicus with the catapult and it'll pop off, and I'll kill Rodicus. At which point, like, I'm basically safe, because he's got his, he's still got his 5 Blight Kings over on the right, and that would be, like, all he had left. So I was like, if I take the double, if the catapult pops off, if, like, there were a couple things, potentially, I could maybe get Rodicus. And it ended up just, the catapult just was a total dud this game, in terms of damage. So I didn't get it. I will say I think it did kill the Harbinger. So his turn on a counter shoot. I believe that was turn 4. I'll think about that for a second. Anyway, yeah. So turn 4, I just got 7 points and no tactic. He ended up getting 19 to get Relentless. He got Relentless 1 and Intercept 2 because he finished killing my Mortis Guard. Right. At that point, the Mortis Guard were still alive fighting Rodicus. So I was like, if I take it, if I catapult and do a lot of damage, maybe in the Mortis Guard I could maybe finish killing Rodicus. I should mention one of the other things that could easily have flipped to make this a bigger win for him is also that in this big scrum in the middle, he split attacks on like turn 2, and didn't kill the Soul Reaper. So he did 4 wounds to the Soul Reaper, and I lived, and then like I lived through disease. So there was like 2 extra turns of fights where he was at -1 to wound because of the Soul Reaper, past where like with a little bit of very slightly different luck, like the Soul Reaper would have died 2 turns earlier, and at that point, he's just doing a lot more damage with, like, the Blight Kings and even Rodicus and things. And, I forget if he failed any charges. Yes, he did. He failed at least 1 charge with the 5 Blight Kings into the scrum in the middle when they came around the terrain because of the -2 to charge, I believe. So yeah, the Soul Reaper living with 1 wound was, like, huge for a while. But, yeah, then, again, we ended up here. My 1 Morbeg that was left alive, I had rallied, so he didn't have disease, which also meant there was a point where everything on the board was diseased, and so I was taking an extra mortal on everything, but that rally meant that I was no longer taking the extra one every turn. So at that point, I like had the Ossifector. Oh, right, my turn 3, like I got attuned to Garon 2. That's what it was. I made a decent play where I got the Immortus Guard retreated. Was it? Oh, the Immortus Guard retreated. I charged in the Morbeg Knights to try and help kill Rodicus. One of them lived, so it retreated, and I had the Crypt Guard alive left, so they came around the terrain, charged in, and the Ossifector sacrificed himself and charged in to get attuned 2 for 5 points. So I'd gotten attuned level 2, because even at that point, bottom of 3, I was like, I need to just scrounge for points. So to wrap this up, I ended up with one Morbeg Knight who I was like, I can fly around and get this I can cap objectives. And I think the catapult killed the Harbinger, so it did finally kill something. And then I think I didn't charge Rodriguez with the catapult, but I moved the catapult up to basically block Rodriguez up from getting the Immortus Guard, because they were both intercept targets. I think what I should have done was just run both of them away as fast as I could from Rodriguez in like slightly different directions. Instead, I tried to block Rodriguez from getting on the point with the catapult, just hoping it would live like a turn or two. It did survive the first fight from Rodriguez, which I think was a countercharge. And then died on the second one. So I think if I had just run with the catapult, he wouldn't have gotten the counter charge. He would have gotten one fight off on it, and he maybe wouldn't have killed it. So that was a bit of a mistake, that I was unsure if my play was good there or not, and I think it ended up being a mistake. I should have just run away with everything. And then the other absolute killer was, we get to his turn in... This must have been bottom of 4. We get to his turn, and he is out of command points. And he was... Maybe this was 5, actually. Whatever. 4 or 5, he was on this point. He may have gone back to it to take it from the... This must have been on turn 5. Whatever. The moral of the story is, he needed a 6-inch run to get back to his back point and take it back from me, because the Morbeg had taken it and was flying around being annoying. We get to his turn, and he's like, all right, I'm 10 inches to get onto this point. I'll auto run 6 to take the point back. And I was like, you don't have any command points left. You used all of the command points. I watched him flip his dice to the 6 side, and it just totally slipped his mind he was out of command points. So I was like, holy shit. I was like, as long as he doesn't roll the 6, I'm safe. I will still have his point in his backfield this turn, so he will be getting less points, and I'll still potentially... It was basically, he was going to get less points in his turn, obviously, for not having that point. That was then the primary, that was the primary objective at that point, so it was, it was it probably ended up being a 10-point swing, because he made the goddamn hard 6 run roll and got to take that point back from me. Because I was potentially going to get another tactic for having all the objectives in his territory. There we go. Words. Jesus. So it was just a huge swing, right? Because he got to take that back. That was one less that I had. Because the Morbeg was flying around, if he hadn't made that run roll, he was only going to get to take 1 back in the next turn. And instead, he had that one, and then he was able to run back and take the one that the Morbeg had gotten over on the right. So it was just... Again, the game was so down to the wire that, there was 5 times in the game that one little change would have maybe flipped the outcome to either 10 points in my favor or 10 more points in his favor. And instead we're so close. He got 19 turn 4, so he got Restless Energy 1 and Intercept 2. And then turn 5, I managed to play keep away with the Immortus Guard, who was the last intercept target. And he didn't kill it. He summoned the Quicksilver Swords, he got in, and he didn't kill it. So I got 6 points turn 5, he got 9. So it ended up 57-56 to Scott. It was an amazing game. Yeah, it was just such a tight game. It was a great way to end the tournament. I I was disappointed I didn't go 4-1, but like I couldn't even be mad losing the last game by 1 point in like such a tight game. So I ended up coming in ninth, top 10, still great. Like I went 3-2. Last game was insanely close. It was a good tournament. I've been talking for almost 2 hours now. What the hell? So I'm just gonna end it there. Slaughter was fun. Nova's in 2 weeks. I need to rest before then. Luckily, I don't need to paint for Nova. I may just take the same list because it felt very good. Like the 3 games I won, I tabled my opponent, which there's a lot to be said for that. I had one very close loss and then one loss that, like, I could have played it better, but I don't think there's a universe where I beat that KO list with the list I have. Like, I think that's just a hard counter, and I know there's going to be more KO at Nova, but, like, I think I just have to deal with it. Thank you for listening to all of this. It was a pleasure to play all of my opponents at the tournament. If any of you are listening, hope to play you again. Yeah, good job to the organizers. Good job for Martin Orlando for TOing. It all went fairly smoothly. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. My voice is totally shot, so good night. It's time to end this. Thanks for listening.